Let's recap a little bit. So the survivors begin their life with pretty much nothing. They don't have names or even a spoken language. Then a monster attacks and a battle to the death ensues. In the previous video, we covered just the very basics of the showdown phase and combat. I wanted to keep things simple and streamlined, but many fans have requested more information, so I'll quickly touch upon some more of the showdown phase's features. Each survivor has a limited pool of survival points. These precious points are earned through gameplay and can be strategically used at any time during the showdown phase. You can use the survival points to gain a burst of adrenaline, dash, or perform a dodge roll. Adrenaline allows you to instantly activate a piece of gear. By activating a weapon gear card, you could attack out of turn at a crucial moment, or activate it multiple times for a burst of attacks. In a pinch, you could also activate an item gear card that might just save your hide. Dash allows you to take an extra movement action, so you could rush towards a fallen friend to save them, or move away from approaching danger. The dodge roll maneuver is a little special, and you use it to avoid a monster attack that would have otherwise hit you. Interrupting a monster's attack by dashing will result in what we call a dodge roll, and the exact details of how to perform this maneuver will be included in the rulebook. Survivors also have rules for attacking unarmed, if they find themselves in such a situation. A big question I've been asked many times is if there is terrain in the game system. The answer to that is yes, there is a limited number of terrain tokens that will come with the game. Terrain is generally specific to monsters and will interact with them in unique ways. The lion, for example, will sometimes hide in tall grass, and corpses can be scavenged during combat for additional resources. Anyway, we'll continue from our previous example. Sadly, Zachary's head exploded, but Alistair, Lucy, and Urza prevailed. They defeated the lion and collected some resources from it. The three survivors began to wander through the darkness, terrified and vulnerable. Hours and hours passed until a tiny speck of light pierced the horizon. Something about that light felt safe, and the survivors rushed towards it. And they discovered the Lantern Horde, a mysterious pile of lanterns that is the foundation and very heart of their settlement. This leads us to the settlement phase. In the settlement phase, you will resolve random events from a settlement event deck, make a Nemesis monster roll, craft gear, innovate from the innovation deck, undertake endeavors, and upgrade existing locations. When you begin the settlement phase, the very first thing you always do is draw a settlement event card and resolve it. Since we are at the beginning of a new campaign, we will start with a very special settlement event card called the First Day. The first day will guide you in creating a new settlement, including what locations you start with and how to build the settlement event and innovation decks. All of this will be gone over in greater detail in the rulebook. Some game expansions will even have their own first day settlement event card, which you can use to create new varieties of settlements. But for now, I'll be sticking to just the core game box contents. So grab a settlement record sheet, give your settlement a bold name, and roll a d10 on the starting population table. Looks like we have 6 people, plus Alistair, Urza, and Lucy that survived the showdown with the lion, which makes for a total population of 9 people. According to the first day card, our starting locations are the Lantern Horde, Bonesmith, Skinworker, and Organ Grinder. It also tells us our starting settlement event deck and our starting innovation deck. The settlement phase is streamlined and modular. The intent of the design is to allow players to share information easily instead of everyone being crowded around one big book. The Lantern Horde is where survivors can spend resources to innovate. At the cost of 1 bone, hide, and skin type resource, we can draw the top card from the innovation deck. In this case, the language innovation is the first innovation the survivors can gain. We put it into play and follow the special rules on the card. As you can see, we are now adding more cards to both the settlement event deck and the innovation deck. As the campaign unfolds, you will modify these decks several times to reflect the developments and changes of your settlement. Let's pretend we have enough resources to gain another innovation right away. The music innovation. Now we go ahead and modify the innovation and settlement event deck with the music cards. You don't get these innovations right away. They become part of the settlement's innovation deck, and you might gain them later. This represents the settlement's organic evolution and future potential. Just to answer this one up front, yes, there will be ways to control what you draw from the innovation deck for more specific builds. Here's one of the music events that was added to the settlement event deck as a result of gaining the music innovation. Now, when you draw an event card at the beginning of the settlement phase, there's a chance this card will come up. Survivors gain a single endeavor point for successfully returning from a hunt, and certain locations/innovation cards will have ways that they can spend them. In the case of the music innovation, a survivor may spend an endeavor to bang on the drums and roll on the small table shown here. At the bonesmith, the skinworker, and the organ grinder, you can begin crafting gear that is critical to your survival. The game is fully cooperative, and it's up to the group to decide how the resources get spent. Your group might decide that every survivor keeps their own resources and spends them as individuals. Others might trade, and some might share everything openly, deciding as a whole on what to invest in. We'll spend 1 bone at the bonesmith and create a bone blade. We'll spend 1 hide at the skinworker and create a rawhide headband. And this squishy organ, let's spend it at the organ grinder and create monster grease. The settlement can also be upgraded. According to the skinworker location, we can build the leatherworker location by spending the listed resources. Looking at the leatherworker, we can see that there are many new things to craft. It can be tricky to learn when to upgrade, but that is a challenge you and your gaming group will need to face together. Another key component to the settlement phase are nemesis encounters. As time advances, there's a chance a powerful monster will wander too close to the settlement and the survivors will have to deal with it instead of having a normal hunt phase. It is crucial your survivors are ready to confront the challenge, or the results could be catastrophic. Usually a settlement event card will trigger a nemesis encounter roll. The settlement phase is the last part of a game session. A typical session will start with a hunt phase, move on to a showdown, and end with the settlement phase. This gives everyone a chance to spend resources and spend some hobby time working on new survivors or monsters between gameplay sessions. In the hunt phase you will select a monster to hunt, form a hunting party, gear up, set up the hunt track, and resolve exploration and hunt events. Now that we've spent our resources, it's time to venture away from the safety of the Lantern Horde and find more. The hunt phase begins at the settlement. Hunting a monster in a nightmare landscape is pure suicide, and the resolve these early humans must have is very hard to describe. They hunt by feeling, burning the idea of survival into their very core and forming a death pact, to come back with resources or to never return, as leading a monster back to the settlement would be disaster. Select a monster to hunt and refer to its individual hunt rules. In most cases you can select both the monster and its desired age, aka challenge level. Then form a hunting party from the survivors in the settlement and spend some time gearing them up. Kingdom Death Monster features a unique gear system. Survivors have 9 gear slots and can have any variety of weapons, armor, and accessories they choose. Let's take a brand new survivor from our population and build him together. I am using Loctite, my favorite brand of superglue, to put him together. He is made mostly of the unarmored miniature kit. I am including the rawhide headband head from the rawhide armor kit and adding the bone blade to his right wrist. It took me about 1 minute to build him in total. Here he is. I've decided that he will also have the monster grease gear card that we made together, and I shall name him Elvis, the Grease Warrior. For the sake of explaining the gear system in greater detail, I'm going to call upon a future version of Lucy. You can see here that she has a full set of rawhide armor. By having a full set of armor, Lucy gets this rawhide armor set bonus card and any of the abilities listed on it. You can also see how I have her 9 gear slots arranged. By completing these colored squares, I unlock additional bonuses for Lucy. This monster tooth necklace gives her +1 strength when rolling for damage, and this area of the gear card indicates that if I have 2 completed red squares, she will gain another +1 strength bonus. So a little rearranging, and now Lucy is using the monster tooth necklace to its full potential, gaining a +2 strength bonus. There are many gear cards, and thus many possible combinations. Some combinations will take up a full horizontal row, which would make it impossible to also have a combo that takes a full vertical row. Combinations that take an entire row are very restrictive, but they are often powerful. Here is an example of a full horizontal row combo. By making use of blood paint and a weapon type gear card on each adjacent side, we can create a dual wielding survivor. By using a gear activation on the blood paint, it allows us to special activate both of these weapon type gear cards in a single turn. Useful gear cards are not limited to just weapons and direct attacks. Take this Whisker Harp for example. Sure, you won't be attacking like a madman, but you can use this to discard a monster's mood card and gain more control of the entire showdown. The gear system is designed to be a lightweight and fun puzzle. You'll constantly be crafting new gear and trying to figure out the best possible combinations to fight the challenges ahead. Once you depart on the hunt, you cannot change or rearrange your gear. This removes the endless choices from the showdown phase, so you can focus on fighting, and keeps it contained within the gear up part of the hunt phase. Moving on with the hunt phase, once you've decided on a build for each survivor, it's time to depart. In the early days of your settlement, departing is as simple as, well, everyone just leaving. As your settlement advances, you may begin to throw big parties or have moments of silence which can invigorate your departing team with bonus survival points. This is the prototype version of the hunt track. A fully realized and illustrated version is in the works. I apologize I was not able to include it in this video. Set up the hunting party on the first space. Then, according to the hunt rules for the particular monster you're hunting and its desired level, you will create a hunt deck and modify the track. For this example, we'll be hunting a level 1 white lion. We'll shuffle up his unique hunt event deck and place the 2 top cards face down on the spaces shown here. Then we'll place the creature token on the board to represent how far away the survivors are from their target. The survivors move towards their target and resolve exploration and hunt events. Let's move them forward now. When the survivors move on to an empty spot on the track, you will need to roll on the hunt and exploration event table. There are 100 of these events included in the rulebook. That is in addition to each monster, which has around 10 unique events of its own. The variety of mostly terrible things that can happen to the survivors as they explore the lands of Kingdom Death is tremendous. Let's roll and see what we get. The Broken Lantern Trail. While carefully traversing the nightmare landscape of Kingdom Death, the survivors begin to hear crunching sounds and feel cracking glass from under their feet. The survivors may choose to investigate, or they may choose to ignore the discovery and continue their journey. If you choose to investigate, there's a chance someone will injure themselves, there's a chance you'll find a broken lantern, which is a great resource, and there's a chance you'll find a long-abandoned lantern hoard. The choice is up to you and your group and how brave you're feeling. Alright, now let's move the hunting party forward again and resolve the next event. This time it's one of the White Lion's unique events. Looks like the lion has caught wind of something delicious and moves towards the survivors on the track. Note, if he moves into the space where the survivors are, the showdown will begin immediately and the lion will have the advantage. However, if the survivors manage to move onto the space with the creature first, they will have the advantage. So the basic idea here is to get to the monster before it gets to you. There is a huge variety of events, and there are numerous ways that you will interact with them. Let's take the Dark Blacksmith event for example. The survivors cross paths with a tall and unnaturally thin man draped in a large hooded robe. As his feet strike the ground, they spark, illuminating his path. A disembodied mouth floating in the darkness of his cloak speaks to the survivors in a language they will never understand. If your settlement has developed a picture language, you might be able to communicate with this strange entity. Otherwise, you can offer him a piece of gear to see what happens, or just run away. Some innovations, gear cards, and disorders also come into play during the hunt phase. You can use the Beast Stake gear card to buy yourself some time and move the monster back a space. Another gear card, the Undigested Plant, will grant a survivor with a strange affinity for vegetation. During the hunt phase setup, he may add an additional special event that will let him explore his surroundings specifically for plant life. Due to the horrors and trauma they face, survivors often develop disorders, and some of these disorders can affect the hunt phase. For example, it would be unwise to give a survivor with an eating disorder the Beast Steak or Undigested Plant. Both of these gear cards are consumable, and if he panics, he might just eat them all up. As your campaign unfolds, there might be some events that further modify the hunt phase. For example, if the Kingsmen are on patrol, you will have to add their cards to the hunt track, and there will be a chance you encounter them. The hunt phase is designed to be simple, exciting, and offer the player group many ways to alter or interact with how they explore and survive. Ultimately, the goal is still to confront a monster and bring resources back to the settlement, but the phase will offer savvy players a chance to bend and twist their grave responsibility. There's one more very important part of the game I'd like to touch upon. That is the story system that will guide your gaming group through the campaign. This system is deceptively simple. The idea is that your group will experience the game's story through gameplay and not lengthy passages of text. Things will happen during gameplay that will trigger story events. For example, after 10 lantern years have passed in the settlement, the King's Hand will visit. This is much more significant than your average settlement event and can potentially impact the future of your people. The King's Hand might bring a fledgling settlement a child. He might take a child away. He may attack the settlement, which would bring you directly to a nemesis encounter, or may impart a unique innovation card onto the people. The chance of these various outcomes is part random and part based on what's going on with the settlement at the time he arrives. The significance of the story events and the many ways they can unfold lends to the overall replay value. I will also fully admit the random aspects of certain elements of the game can potentially lead to some playthroughs being extremely challenging. As a group, you'll have to be prepared to lose and to learn what you can before adjusting your strategy and trying again. This concludes our second gameplay video. Thank you. No, seriously, thank you. Thank you to my friends, my family, and to all the backers who've supported this project from its humble beginnings. I am speechless. I don't know what to say. Really, you guys have made my dream come true.